Hello class, and welcome back to the Windows operating system, 3.3 Windows Configuration Monitoring. As I mentioned in the previous video, this is quite the long form lecture of this week. So I try to break up the videos because I don't like when they go over 40 minutes, because I understand listening to someone talk for 3 hours straight is not particularly easy. So hopefully you can use that to digest the information a little easier. If you want me to break it up even further, you're free to go ahead and leave me feedback either in your assignments or put it in the little, the comments for the submissions, etc. If you have any problems at all or want to give me any suggestions or have questions or just want to say hi, I guess, you can go ahead and put it in any assignment comments. I read all of them. Or send me an email, whatever works. So, okay, let's jump into the lecture. Talk about some configuration on Windows. There is a lot of configuration you can do. As I mentioned, it's a massive operating system. So run as admin, we've seen it, we love it. Admin is telling Windows to leave our operation alone. We are the end all be all. Please let it just run at the highest level possible. Thank you, Windows. So you will find that running as admin is the better way of handling administrative tasks rather than being the admin user. Why? Because if everything you click runs as admin, everything will bypass security. So if you double click something and it's malware, whoopsies, you are in trouble, right? The run it as admin button is the extra step, and it takes, deliberate action to press run as admin and go, I know I am running as admin here. Then you get the UAC that says, are you sure? You say, yes, I'm sure. And then it runs as admin, right? So helpful if you're having installation problems with trusted media, whatever your program is that you know and trust. Sometimes running it as admin, either the exe or the installer, can help deal with some of the issues that maybe Windows Defender is blocking. So it is a useful tool. I'm sure most of you know what run as admin does. And then your command prompt, if you open the command prompt and you're running that DOS OS, it is not administrative. It can only do what a normal user can do. So you need to run the window as admin and then start typing commands. And then all the commands you put in there will be administrator level. So local users and domains. This is how Windows pretty much organizes everybody. So you have your users, which is you or your admin or your best friend. You let you use your computer. So all of this becomes a lot easier because then we have groups, and these groups can be would take users and apply settings to them. But if we have 100 users, that will take 100 times. Or we can have our group, and in our group we apply all of our settings and just add users to that group. So that can give permissions to files, permissions for installation, etc. Again, you have that business finance guy who only can do business finance stuff. And then you have the admin IT guy who has probably a lot more permissions, maybe administrative level permissions, right? So again, there's a lot of different permissions. You can do explicit denies no matter what, they cannot do it. Even if another group is allowing it to be done, you can explicitly say have one group be like, no, this guy cannot. You can maybe add people to your blacklist of, hey, this person might be in the business section. They're allowed to install things, but this person does not know what they're doing. So maybe you have the naughty people list, or sometimes you have that as the more practical example is someone is being laid off and there is a significant danger of someone lashing out, potentially leaving behind a rootkit or a logic bomb or something. So while they might have, especially IT, they might have all those permissions, you then add them to transitioning out, whatever you want to call it, the on death row group. So even if they have all these admin permissions from being an IT guy in their account, rather than turning off that group or even going into the specific, changing his user settings, you just drag his user into the, you're going to be let go group. And that's an example of how explicit deny can be actually useful. Okay, so they're managed through the local user manager. So L user or local user. This is yet another little application GUI that makes it really, really, really easy to apply settings. So you can see all your groups, you can see all your users, right click the users or the groups, change the settings, etc. This is pretty much what you'll do all the time if you go into system administrative work. So CLI and PowerShell. So I mentioned before, you have your command line, which you have certain commands that you can type. Then you have PowerShell. PowerShell is its own internal pretty much, it's like a command line in terms of the commands it takes, but it has a lot more functionality in its own little library. PowerShell being exclusive to Windows, command line being something you can find either on Windows or Linux or even Mac, right? So cmd.exe, we talked about this before. Just remember these important things. I'll give you a second. You can pause me if you want to read them. It's just kind of like, hey, don't make syntax errors. Another environment called the PowerShell can be used to create scripts to automate tasks that regular CLI is unable to create. As I mentioned, they have its own little library, so there's some more keywords, there's some more functionalities. PowerShell scripts are very helpful. So for CLI, you'll create a bat or a batch file, so you can have a bunch of commands and then run that batch file, and it'll run them all in the CLI. That can get messy. It doesn't really make it easy for monitoring and logging. PowerShell, you can create scripts, write all your PowerShell scripts in that, and then PowerShell has its own editor that you can actually like test run commands to, which is really nice. So here are the types of commands that can execute commandlets. These are a specific action and then return an output. Scripts, this is what I was telling you about. These are very common in automation, especially on the Windows system. If you don't have Python installed, which we talked about Python being a good thing to learn, Python scripts are very powerful and used for automation, but Python's not always installed on these systems, so you'll often use PowerShell instead. It's kind of your like best friend of, I don't have Python on this thing, okay, I'm going to run a PowerShell script, right? So there are 4 levels of help. So get help, this is an example to see pretty much generally what is PowerShell, right? Then you can do your command, which will show you exactly how the command can be used. Examples will actually literally show you how, like an example included in the detailed information. You can get even more detailed information, or you could get full, which shows literally everything, which will be pretty much a whole window. So if you don't know how to use a command, type in the command and do full, detailed, or examples, or just the command. And if you don't add any arguments, it'll just still show this like help menu. So Windows Management Instrumentation, WMI, this is how you manage computers as the sysadmin or whatever. You do not have time, or maybe you do, but you generally don't want to run to Vicky's computer on floor 2, then run to Bob's computer on floor 8, and then travel to the basement to mess with your computers. You can use this management instrumentation to create computers, pretty much full templates. You can bring everybody into line, and it's way faster than having to individually click everything. You could just have a template or pretty much what you want as your computer management, and then send this out to the remote computers through the Windows management instrumentation. So you can see here you can get backups as well, security settings, mostly what we care about, and then there's some advanced stuff you can do with namespacing. So the net command, another one of our best friends in terms of being able to do admin and maintenance of our OS. The net command supports many subcommands. You can see a whole bunch of them here. So we can go ahead and get our accounts, our computer, our users, etc. The command output then shows what it can be done. Let me see if it continues. Here it is. So net account, you can set passwords. So you can use this to create a password on the CLI. Net command it. The user account gets created. You can also do this in that management app that we showed, the local users management app. So, but again, if you're automating it, if you want to have a script that creates 18 users, and those are the 18 users in the department on a computer, etc., it's a lot faster to run a script using these commands rather than going into the GUI, adding the person in this group, and this group, and this group, right? So you can use this to also start services if they're not running. This is, again, so you don't have to open the service menu. Or you might want to just do a stop start, so a restart. After, say, you have a script that applies changes to a service, you don't want to go into services, stop and start it, because the updates won't go through until it's restarted. You could just go ahead and add that to your command, right? So a lot of things you can do with the net command. It's good to be able to use it effectively because you'll find you're using it all the time if you're doing any management of a Windows system. Already talked about Taskman. Taskman is probably the one tool that every single one of you has used before. It is my best friend whenever applications are misbehaving. I threaten them with Taskman and suddenly start behaving, or they get end processed, right? So has 7 tabs. There's a lot of stuff that we don't actually look at. Most people go just to here, myself included, and that's how you can pretty much figure out what's using up all your memory, what's using up all your disk space, CPU, etc. Oops. So here are the tabs, processes, as I mentioned. You can see everything that's running. We've already talked about that in the previous section. Performance, this is helpful, again, if you're trying to see, hey, my computer's slow. The classic, hey, my computer's slow. Open Taskman, go to the Performance tab, and it'll show you, oh yeah, your computer is burning alive because of all these processes on your RAM or on your disk. Because it's easy to say, my computer's slow, take the whole thing, throw it out, get a new one. Oh wow, everything's greater. Sometimes, hey, just replace the RAM, you need a little more. Your CPU is lagging behind, or your GPU, etc. So it's good to look at the Performance tab, especially if you're having issues with, say, a game or an application and you're getting bad frame rate, etc. You can check your performance and see, hey, my GPU is only 15% utilized. This is not my GPU. That's the problem. Maybe it's a setting, etc. Right? So you can see app history. This is, you can see what's consuming resources and pretty much seeing the history of your processes. Startup, these are the things that show up when you first log in. It's the place I always check to when I'm looking at someone's computer and they say, oh, my computer takes forever to start. Most of the time when they're saying that, they mean after they log in, and it's because every application on their computer is going at startup. I recommend that your startup has nothing, or the one application you always use. It is way better for let your computer use its resources to fire off all those important pieces I showed you before on that flowchart, and then launch your apps. But again, if you have Discord, or, you know, I don't think anyone's on Skype anymore, but whatever your favorite messaging app, or whatever, the one or two, the very special programs, feel free. They can go on startup, but I recommend you disable it for pretty much everything else. Too much junk running in the background will make your computer slow. So users, you can see the users logged in and what they're using. So most of the time you're only going to see yourself here. Some additional details for management, and then your services. As I mentioned, you can see your services on the task manager. Your PID is sometimes important for the process ID. You can use that to figure out, you know, if a service needs to be stopped or started, you can use the PID instead. And then again, the resource monitor. When more detailed information on resource use is needed, you open Resource Monitor. So again, if the little resource tab of Taskman, this used to be more useful, the Resource Monitor, when Taskman didn't have that monitor section, but a good feature of newer Windows versions have that performance tab, and it shows a lot of the information here. But if you really want to dig into like the PID of a process because you need it to, for whatever security reasons or your net commands, right, you can find them here. You can find the threads, what's going on, right? You can really dig into the overview. What's your CPU doing? What's your memory doing? What's your disk doing? What's your network doing, right? Again, these are different ways you can start narrowing down and troubleshooting. So here are the 5 categories. CPU, already mentioned. Memory, same thing. It's if your RAM is being used up, you can look exactly why it's being used up. Disk is your actual like read write, your hard drives, and then your network. Again, you might not be getting very good, say, download speeds. Take a look at the network section, see what's wrong. Is it your end? Is it their end? What are your advertised speeds and what you're actually getting? You can go and take a look here, right? So networking, this is where we start having some of our more network problems, some of our more network vulnerabilities. Windows has a lot of very strong network tools, pretty much starting here at Network and Sharing Center. You can use it to add connection types, what kind of, if it's on one of your domains, so it's a trusted domain, or if it's a guest network, set up new connections, and the troubleshoot. I never found troubleshoot problems to ever work, but it's there if you need it, I suppose. So change your adapter settings. This is a good idea if you're trying to take yourself offline entirely, because sometimes certain programs will try to go out to the internet. Say your Ethernet's down, right? You have an Ethernet cable plugged in, but your internet's down, and you launch a program and it wants to update, and it just keeps sitting there. It's because it's trying to go through this connection, so you can disable them entirely, so they read as disconnected. The safest way always is to physically unplug the network cable, of course, but if your computer is behind a whole bunch of monitors, etc., go in here and turn it off. You can, yes, you can change your specific Ethernet settings. You can go to IPv4, maybe you want to go to IPv6, if that's what you're trying to configure. And then, yeah, you can change a whole bunch of stuff. Change your IP. Most of us will have it done automatically, but if you're creating a system that is a gateway or a system that you want to maintain a certain IP because you're physically pointing at it, then you can physically set, or you can hard set IPs here, right? DNS, same thing. If the DNS server that you are trying to call is problems, sometimes they do go down, sometimes there are DNS problems, you can go ahead and see, hey, is the DNS server, is it my network? You can change your DNS to, say, the Google one, which I think is 8888, and see if that works, and if that works, then it was that DNS server that's having problems. So here are some more powerful commands: netstat and netlookup, or NSLookup, sorry. You can look to test your DNS, see where the DNS is coming from. You can do, so NSLookup any website, you'll see, we'll do this in the lab, but pretty much you're going to look up, oh, wait, which, where's the Cisco server? Where is its actual address? And are we established, etc. Network resources. Windows uses networking for many applications, such as by email and file service. Pretty much everything is network connected, right? Everything is trying to update or talk to something over the internet. So Service Message Block Protocol, SMB, is used to share network resources, and is mostly used for accessing files on remote hosts. So this is kind of like the general way of, you have a network drive on your work network. It's very likely using server message block protocol to share those resources. Universal format is to connect to the resources, such as the // where the server is. So whatever the name of your shared server is, network server, the name, and then actually finding it. So these shares are called administrative shares and identified by a $sign. There's a lot of little special cases, and then you can change it to only admins can see these shares, only certain users can see these shares in groups. Again, that's why it's helpful to have those groups set and then apply the groups onto the users rather than setting all the users connections for all of these things, right? So remote desktop connection, this is built in Windows, RDP. It's very helpful for when, again, you have, say you're an IT or sysadmin, someone from the 18th floor is having problems, you get their IP, have them do, their IP config, log in whatever user, your admin, etc. Remote in, take control of their desktop. It will run like you are physically there. You can see all the resources on it. RDP is very helpful for pretty much all configuration and troubleshooting, and it's pretty much always enabled in most corporations now because it's so much easier than having the IT guy walk all the way down to your station, right? Windows Server, most Windows installations are performed as desktop installations, so I don't know if many of you have ever installed a server, but it is a different kind of installation. It's not just like you download Windows 11 and then it's a server. Most of the time, it is a completely separate operating system that has its own million files, right? So they have a lot of services that you do not need on your home installation, right? You don't need to be your own DNS server. But when you need to set up an internal DNS server or even external, you can use Windows servers, and then they can be used here, right, for DNS. And we already talked about how we can share, our file systems, and it can even act as a web server, so it can do website hosting, etc. So let's see. Okay, so this is just a note. All right, we're finally into labs. That's enough talking. So there's going to be some labs back to back here. So let me go ahead and pull them up. All right, so here's our first one. We're going to create user accounts. This is a good skill for everyone to know, how to make a new account on your computer, especially if your little brother wants to use it to play Minecraft or whatever. Make his own user and restrict his permissions so he doesn't end up deleting things you really cared about. Or parents out there, same thing, right? You have a kid who needs or wants to start using the computer. Now you know how to make a separate user for them, right? So on your Windows PC, again, if you have a Mac, you could try to find a review copy, evaluation copy, and then do it through that. But anyway, so it's this very simple of just creating your user. You just add what the user group is, right? Check the properties, etc. So all you really need to do is fill in the questions and then fill in the reflections. If you want, you can go ahead and take a screenshot of your new user. Again, this has you do CyberOps user. So if you want to just throw in a screenshot here above the reflections, and I can see that user is created. I don't and then a member tab, etc. So you could just do screenshots too. That's fine if you don't want to write it out. But anyway, let me go and pull up the next lab. This one's, again, just a quick hands-on lab with how to, do administration on Windows. All right, the next one is PowerShell. Again, a very powerful functionality of Windows. It is a more powerful shell. They're very unique or clever with their naming, I suppose. So again, Windows PC required. Easy to just go ahead and add your outputs, go and write them. Again, if you'd rather just screenshot, throw it in here, that's fine too, because your dir might show a lot of different directories, depending on where you are currently in your directories. So anyway, PowerShell is great. Here's just some of the basic things that we talked about with netsat and NSLOOKUP. So go ahead and fill out the questions, add the reflection, and go and turn in this Word document or as a PDF. PDF is actually easier for me to read, but you can just turn it as a Word document. It's good either way. So let me go ahead and pull up the next lab. All right, this lab is about our best friend, the Taskman. Again, these are all the tools we went over here in the lecture. So thankfully, less talking, more doing. I do love all that. There's a lot of different labs that kind of touch and explore a lot of the areas that we actually just talk about rather than just memorizing what a Beehive and registry key and what is a Taskman or what tools used when, right? It's way better for your learning if you're actually launching it and doing it yourself. Because there's tons of tools and it's, kind of muscle memory of once you realize, oh, this is the tool for this situation. That's kind of the biggest thing with being a security professional or an IT professional is knowing what tool to apply when, because you're going to save yourself a lot of headaches when you know, okay, this is where I should use this functionality, right? So anyway, same thing here, just kind of play with the task manager, fill out the questions, and then go ahead and submit this Word PDF reflection, right? All right, we have one more lab for this section. Final lab here. The last part we were talking about, which is our network resources and a few of our other system resources in Windows. You can go ahead and check and see, this is having you mess around and see how your performance is doing on your network. This is just, again, easy, helpful troubleshooting stuff to find problems. Just getting your feet wet with all the different tools Windows has built in. Because this is really our only main section on Windows, so we kind of want to touch on all the important stuff while we can before we move into our Linux VM. And again, this section is generally, or this week is kind of getting set up, getting our lab machine ready, and then in the meantime we have these labs, right? Okay, so that is the last lab of this section. Same thing, just questions. No reflection on this one, so easy, just a few questions to answer while you're stepping through it. And yeah, that's it for this section. I'm going to stop the video here because I just gave you a bunch of different labs for you to go and jump in. It's probably a good idea to do them while it's fresh. And I'll have the last part of the Windows operating system in the next video. So I'll see you then.